So with all of that said, we're going to dive into our own Bible study this week. Exodus, again, I just took it's good timing because we're just coming right to Passover. And we're in the midst of the Passover story here of the Exodus from Egypt. Let's start with our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hitatef. I'm in the wrong blessing. La'asok divrei Torah.
Divrei Torah.
I had the bar mitzvah in my head. I'm doing the talus blessing. We had a bar mitzvah this week. And boy, oh boy, I need a little more caffeine. L'chaim.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's rock and roll. Rick, you want to start us off?
And is at the very top of the page.
The very top of the page.
And the Lord said to Moses, when you return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the marvels that I have put within your power. I, however, will stiffen his heart so that he will not let the people go. Then you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says the Lord, Israel is my firstborn son. And I have said to you, let my son go, that he may worship me. Yet you refuse to let him go. Now I will slay your firstborn son.
So a little spoiler. Again, sort of God said, letting you know it's going to happen ahead of time. Feels like a lot of work. Maybe we could skip to number 10. And that way we didn't have to go through 1 through 9. It's a, sort of a longer story. But again, that isn't really the point. The point is it's all the marvels, right? So God is going to perform many miracles, many wonders, the way it shows to Pharaoh, to the Egyptian people, and also to the Israelites that God is God, and God has the power to redeem and to save. And so that's why we have to go through all this rigmarole. Speaking of rigmarole, Rick, give me one more.
At a night encampment on the way, the Lord encountered him and sought to kill him. So Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched his legs with it, saying, you are truly a bridegroom of blood to me. And when he let him alone, she added, a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision.
Good times for everybody. A little bit of bloodletting. And so it's a very weird passage. It's literally just these verses, and then we move on. It's just like a little part of the story that sort of jumps in, and it's obviously begging to be analyzed, I guess, and to be drashed about because it is a little bit off. And so, and also part of it is that there's a lot of pronouns here, and it's a little bit tricky to see who's getting what done to them, except for Gershom, where we do have a sense of happening to him during this moment in time. So, God encountered him, and who's him here? The him. It could be Moses, it could be Gershom, it's unclear which him it is. Most people say it's Moses. And the reason why God is angry is because, according to, again, the interpretation here, that Moses was a little lackadaisical, a little lazy about the good old circumcision here, and didn't get it done. And disobeying the commandment of Brit Milah, the angel of death comes after Moses. Zipporah sort of sees this whole thing playing out and takes some drastic action here, does the deed herself, and then touched his legs, again, probably meaning Moses's legs with it. That way, Moses is protected from the angel of death through the blood of the circumcision of his son. Or something else. But that's what I got at this point with it. So that's when we get bridegroom, because bridegroom is usually referring to a husband, bridegroom of blood, because of the circumcision. So it's an intermarriage. It's all over, frankly, at that point, right? Because there aren't that many Israelites as it is. But I guess in this case, we have enough generations where Moses probably could have found a nice Israelite girl to marry. And Zipporah is the one who saves the day. She's the one who performs the circ. Which is not allowed nowadays, I might add. Nor should you use a flint. So a lot of things have changed in a couple of thousand years. I would not recommend getting a flint. So it's just, And the more you know, kind of thing, just the more you know. So yeah, it's sort of a weird story, sort of a mystical story. Like is Moses really to be blamed, perhaps, for not putting Brit Milah on the top of his list for his Midianite son? Yeah.
Okay, can we go back a paragraph before?
Sure.
My question is,
You don't want to talk about the circumcision anymore?
no, I really don't.
Okay.
Okay, and then God says, I, however, will stiffen his heart so that he wouldn't let the people go. So already God's saying you're going to go through 1 through 9, and it's not going to make any difference. So why bother?
Yeah. Yeah. No, the bothering. Yeah, I understand. The bothering is, so to speak, that God's got a lot to prove. God has to
Did the first 9 have to fail?
What?
Okay. Did the first 9 have to fail? They have to make it hard on him to get him out of Egypt.
Yes, I think that is the impression that they have to go through an experience, so to speak. It's been a few hundred years of slavery, so God is trying to prove a point here. And in a way, one can also think back. There's an idea that some, if not all, of these plagues are meant to really demonstrate that not only God's power over Pharaoh, but God's power over all the Egyptian deities. And so each of the plagues sort of point to undermine Egyptian belief, with the Nile, of course, being first to get it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it certainly is a severe chastisement, as they say, right? So, and in the Haggadah, it talks about this idea too about, is it 10 plagues? Is it 50 plagues? Is it 500 plagues? Whatever. Yeah. To multiply them to punish the Egyptians and Pharaoh for their wrongdoings. But it is one of those things where it's like, it's all set. It's sort of predetermined.
Exactly.
Pharaoh doesn't have any free will here in this passage, nor the Egyptians.
I sort of wonder also, if they had gone straight to plague number 10, would the Egyptians or even the Hebrew slaves at that point think, oh, it's just like a big coincidence. It's really not God's doing.
Yeah, they needed more of the show, the laser light show that is the Pink Floyd concert that is God's wonders. That could be it too. Again, they needed the whole thing. Okay, but it's a good question. It's one that I often ask as well, to be honest, the very same question, because it does feel, I don't know, I'm always a little bit troubled from a theological standpoint about the whole stiffening of the heart thing. There's ways to talk about it and get around it, but it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great paradigm. Yeah, you're okay with it. You have no problem. You're like, Tyler, you ready to read today?
Sure.
What do you think? Okay.
The Lord said to Aaron, go to meet Moses in the wilderness. He went and met him at the mountain of God and kissed him. Moses told Aaron about all the things that the Lord had committed to him and all the signs about which he had instructed him. Then Moses and Aaron went and assembled all the elders of the Israelites. Aaron repeated all the words that the Lord had spoken to Moses, and he performed the signs of the sight of the people, and the people were convinced. When they heard that the Lord had taken each note of the Israelites and that he had seen their plight, they bowed low in homage.
Thank you for that. So like they go, I always think about Moses and Aaron like reunited, and it feels so good. And it's like, Aaron, by the way, here's all this stuff that I need you to do. And Aaron's like, I didn't talk to any burning bush. Like, what's happening here? How did I get all this work? But he gets all of it. And then they go and they talk to the people and they do the magic show. They do the whole thing, all the signs and wonders. Oh, look, it's a rod. No, it's a snake, and leprosy, like the whole sort of thing. And everyone is convinced. Everyone understands what's happening. They feel good about it. Okay, Moses, you got us. You got our trust. It sounds good. Sounds like a great plan. What could possibly go wrong? And let's go deal with Pharaoh now. So they're ready. Go team, go. Yeah, they were ready. Okay, Melissa, you want to pick up here afterward?
Afterward, Moses and Aaron went and said to Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may celebrate a festival for me in the wilderness." Ready? But Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should heed him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, nor will I let Israel go."
Yes, it doesn't really work right away, right? So it gives it the, how about we let go of these slaves? Might be a nice idea, right? Let's go, let them out and have a festival and good time. Time to go to a concert or something. And Pharaoh's like, no, not a thing that's happening. Don't know this guy, don't know God here, not going to listen. Not letting them go, not letting the people go. One probably shouldn't be surprised, and probably least of all Moses, because what's going to happen next. So give me one more.
They answered, "The God of the Hebrews has manifested himself to us. Let us go, we pray, a distance of 3 days into the wilderness to sacrifice to the Lord our God, lest he strike us with pestilence or sword." But the king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why do you distract the people from their tasks? Get to your labors."
Yeah, get to work. It's time to build some pyramids. Trying to get us out of work for a couple of days, take some personal days to go into the world. There's no personal days yet. There's no union contract here. It doesn't work. And so Pharaoh's not amused by all these shenanigans.
Isn't Moses still a wanted man at this point?
So
why is Pharaoh not?
Last week they tell you that everyone who sort of knew about the thing that he did, the killing, they're all dead. This is a new Pharaoh, new dude. Things are wiped clean. The statute of limitations has in fact expired. You can't,
There's no SL.
Yeah.
SOL on murder.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, I guess times have changed. It's sort of it's fine. Everyone's dead. No one remembers. It'll be all right. Karen, you want to pick up? And Pharaoh continued.
And Pharaoh continued, "The people of the land are already," I'm missing a word, "very numerous, and you would have them cease from their labors." That same day, Pharaoh charged the taskmasters and overseers of the people, saying, "You shall no longer provide the people with straw for making bricks as heretofore. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, but impose upon them the same quota of bricks as they have been making heretofore." Pharaoh's a lawyer at heart, right? "Do not reduce it, for they are shirkers. That is why they cry, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Let heavier work be laid upon those involved. Let them keep at it and not pay attention to deceitful promises."
Yeah, get to work. Pharaoh's tough as nails, boss. Okay, you want to worship God? How about you get no straw heretofore?
Yeah.
As I'm sure Pharaoh was wont to say, an ancient Egyptian, heretofore. I wonder what the hieroglyphic is for that. Go check it out. Yeah, heretofore. So let them get to work. Now you got straw for themselves, and you can't miss one brick. Can't miss one out of the quota here. Or else, what are they? Shirkers. Shirkers. I don't know why. It's like one of those things I've read, again this year, and I look at that word and I'm like, I don't remember hearing shirkers as much. But in this translation, it's shirkers. They are shirking their responsibility. And they are looking to get out of work and do something. And so Pharaoh is again laying down the law here. And they want to go on vacation. That's not going to happen. You got to work. Gary, you want to give me the next one? So the taskmasters.
Okay. So the taskmasters, masters, and overseers of the people went out and said to the people, "Thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you any straw. You must go and get the straw yourselves, wherever you can find it, but there shall be no decrease whatever in your work." Then the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. And the taskmasters pressed them, saying, "You must complete the same work assignment each day as when you had straw."
Oh, it's not great. And it gets a little worse before it gets better. Gary, give me one more in the overseers.
Okay. And the overseers of the Israelites, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten. Why, they asked, did you not complete the prescribed amount of bricks either yesterday or today as you did before? Then the overseers of the Israelites came to Pharaoh and cried, why do you deal thus with your servants? No straw is issued to your servants, yet they demand of us, make bricks. Thus your servants are being beaten, when the fault is with your own people. He replied, you are shirkers. That is why you say, let us go and sacrifice to Adonai. Be off now to your work. No straw shall be issued to you, but you must produce your quota of bricks.
Shirkers everywhere.
Bad word.
Yeah, he's really upset. Lollygaggers. I can't have it. All these lollygaggers. I wonder if that works.
To the left of me, shirkers to the right of me. Okay.
Shirkers everywhere. Oh my goodness. He's surrounded by shirkers. And so again, Pharaoh is laying on the law, and the overseers are getting beat up because they aren't getting the job done. Taskmasters are putting it to them. And so now we got a problem. The Israelites, who their morale was pretty good, a few moments ago, because of all the signs and wonders and, a lot of faith in Moses and Aaron getting this done for them. And now it went the other way. And so they are not feeling in the best of moods right now, as one can imagine. Okay, Sharon, you want to pick up here now the overseers?
Sure. Now the overseers of the Israelites found themselves in trouble because of the order. You must not reduce your daily quantity of bricks. As they left Pharaoh's presence, they came upon Moses and Aaron standing in their path, and they said to them, may Adonai look upon you and punish you for making us loathsome to Pharaoh and his courtiers, putting a sword in their hands to slay us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Moses. Our lives aren't hard enough already. Slavery wasn't bad enough. Now you come along and make things worse. Oh, well, thank you so much. So yeah, they're not happy.
You better get used to it.
Yeah, poor Moses. He's gonna get a lot of complaining as it goes on. This may be a good a good foreshadowing of what Moses' experience is gonna be like. And so yeah, they're not thrilled, as one can imagine, this whole endeavor. And Moses, so again, we can see this pattern. People complain to Moses. Moses complains to, God. You got to push it up the ladder. So give me one more there, Sharon, then Moses.
Sure. Then Moses returned to Adonai and said, oh my Lord, why did you bring harm upon this people? Why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has dealt worse with this people, and still you have not delivered your people.
Yeah, come on. This is not what we want to see. Things are hard enough as it is. And
is Moses a shirker?
Not yet. He'll become a shirker later, maybe.
Okay.
Moses needs to get to work, I guess, as well. But again, a hard hand he's dealt here. He's got a lot of work to do, and the people are again not so thrilled. And we have to get to the good stuff here. We gotta get some plagues. Get the ball rolling here. Barbara, you want to pick up here? Then God said to Moses.
Then Adonai said to Moses, you shall soon see what I will do to Pharaoh. He shall let them go because of a greater might. Indeed, because of a greater might, he shall drive them from this land, his land.
God's flexing a little bit, getting the muscles going, beginning to, get ready to go here. What's the word?
Warming up in the bullpen.
Warming it up, warming up in the bullpen and getting ready to go here. Okay, one more, Barbara. God spoke.
God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am Adonai. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaddai, but I did not make myself known to them by my name, Adonai. I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land in which they lived as sojourners. I have now heard the moaning of the Israelites because the Egyptians are holding them in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant.
God forgot. It's one of those days. One of those.
He was busy.
So here we say, God is doing a little bit of revealing here, a little revelation of the holy name to Moses. I am Adonai. Your ancestors, good old Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, gave them a different name, El Shaddai, but I didn't make known this sort of version of myself to them. And then we go through covenant, right? In case you didn't know, because you were raised in an Egyptian household, we have this thing called covenant, and we have this promise, this agreed upon set of terms. And then the Israelites are going to get Canaan, where they used to be back in the day. Now they're, of course, in Egypt, moaning and groaning because they are enslaved. But God has remembered. It's been a couple hundred years, and God is ready to remember the covenant and free the people from bondage. Any questions, comments? Take a little pause for the cause for a second. Okay, we're good. Sandy, say therefore.
Say therefore to the Israelite people, I am Adonai. I will free you from the labors of the Egyptians and deliver you from their bondage. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and through extraordinary chastisements. And I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God. And you shall know that I, Adonai, am your God who freed you from the labors of the Egyptians. I will bring you into the land which I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you for a possession. I, Adonai.
Very nice. Now, this passage is actually very famous if we remember our Haggadahs, depending on which Haggadah you're using. But this is the fourfold promise part of the Haggadah of the telling of Passover, where God makes the promise to Moses and to the people, I will free you, right? I will deliver you, redeem you, and take you to be my people. And that's the four. And then for the extra one for the Zionists, among us are Israel lovers, as I think we all should be, I will bring you into the land. That's the next one. But the fourfold promise here of God's redemption. And that's what we have here. So it's really an important part of the Passover story. It's God making clear what God's responsibilities are going to be, towards the people. And extraordinary chastisements, not just regular chastisements, extraordinary chastisements. It's really bad, then going to get it. Okay, it's going to be a problem. So, and I like the outstretched arm imagery, it's because the outstretched arm can be read a couple different ways. One, you outstretch your arm to bring people in, right? To save people, to help them. Or the outstretched arm can be, a whammo kind of thing. So either way, I wasn't gonna do it. I was taking the high road and not make an Oscars joke, Rick. And you just, you had to go there.
I can't help
I was moving past. I was sailing past that one. Goodness. But yes, the outstretched arm can certainly get you, as we know. Sandy, give me one more.
Sure. But when Moses told this to the Israelites, they would not listen to Moses, their spirits crushed by cruel bondage. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Go and tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to let the Israelites depart from this land.
Yes, that's the issue, right? Because the Israelites heard this story before. Oh, we're all going to get out of here. Let's go. Pack up your bags. It's going to be fine. And then it doesn't work. The plan falls flat on its face. And then Moses comes back. Hey, come on, let's get ready. Pack your bags. It's time to get out of here. Time to hit the road. Like, yeah, no, we're not buying this until we actually see something. Because we heard this story before and we wound up with no straws and getting our butts kicked even further. So we need a little more than just you telling us that it's going to be okay. Wasn't okay the first time. We need a little bit more. Yeah.
They're not ready to sing Let My People Go, huh?
Yeah, they're not there yet. They're not ready
there
to break out into song here and to get all their stuff together. It's not matzah time just yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, David, are you there to read? I see the screen upside down. That's it. There you are.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. But Moses appealed to Adonai, saying, the Israelites would not listen to me. How then should Pharaoh heed me who gets tongue-tied? So Adonai spoke to both Moses and Aaron in regard to the Israelites, and Pharaoh, king of Egypt, instructing them to deliver the Israelites from the land of Egypt.
What's interesting about this is that God speaks to Moses, and every once in a while, God speaks to Moses and Aaron. And so Aaron sort of gets the front row view, like he's not in the cheap seats anymore. Like he's right there with Moses, talking to God, which is a big step up for Aaron. And so Aaron, I think, sort of needs a little bit, because how is he going to be the one to transmit all this information, without actually hearing it a little more firsthand? And so Moses and Aaron both get sort of the speech. Afterwards, for this part, there's a fascinating amount of just names that just keep coming for a little while. So I'm making the executive decision and move past. It's like the heads of clans, all these folks apparently they lived and did stuff. Yeah. I missed that, David.
Oh, I said I saw Gershon's name for a second. You said we'd never hear from him again.
Well, I don't hear from him. He's there. He did in fact live, but there's no story. There's Gershon, but I'm sure Gershon is in there somewhere in the line.
He's there. Sons of Gershon
here.
And Shema.
Towards the end, I think. Yeah. So he's there somewhere. Yeah, and so then we get, after this, a little bit of rebuttal. Rick, we pass it at the book. I can't see where we are in this one. It's the last part of 26, second paragraph on that page. Okay, Dave, give me one more. It is the same.
It is the same Aaron and Moses, to whom Adonai said, bring forth the Israelites from the land of Egypt, troop by troop. It was they who spoke to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to free the Israelites from the Egyptians. These are the same as Aaron. For when Adonai spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, and Adonai said to Moses, I am Adonai, speak to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I will tell you. Moses appealed to Adonai, saying, see, I get tongue-tied. How then should Pharaoh heed me?
In case you forgot from 45 seconds ago, they're going to recap what was just said after they put you to sleep with all these names. And so, by the way, just to remind you, after we did all that stuff about who Moses and Aaron are. So that's all that is. It's a little bit redundant to get us to chapter 7. Chapter 7, indeed. Dave, give me one more, since you got a lot of his names there. Adonai said to Moses.
And I replied to Moses, see, I place you in the role of God to Pharaoh, with your brother Aaron as your prophet. You shall repeat all that I command you, and your brother Aaron shall speak to Pharaoh to let the Israelites depart from his land. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that I may multiply my signs and marvels in the land of Egypt. When Pharaoh does not heed you, I will lay my hand upon Egypt and deliver my ranks, my people the Israelites, from the land of Egypt with extraordinary chastisements. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Adonai when I stretch out my hand over Egypt and bring out the Israelites from their midst. This Moses and Aaron did as Adonai commanded them, so they did.
So they did. It's like, come on, let's get to the plagues already. It's a lot of speechifying before we get to the plagues, a lot of the same sort of thing. What's interesting here is this first line more than anything else. And it's been translated different ways. But really, I think the best translation is what we have here. I place you in the role of God to Pharaoh. You're going to be above Pharaoh, right? Like a divinity. And Aaron is going to be you, Moses. Aaron's going to be your prophet, basically. So Moses is God's prophet. and God, of course, is God. And then Aaron is sort of like the helper, so to speak, for Moses. And so it's sort of shifting it a little bit. So Moses is going to be almost like God, because Moses is speaking with God's voice. But Moses, because he can't speak, he has trouble with the words, so to speak. Aaron's going to be his voice. Aaron is going to be Moses's prophet in this sort of equation. So everyone gets upgraded a level, so to speak. They have enough frequent flyer miles to get to go upgrade to a first class. So Moses gets the first class seat. He gets to be God in this encounter here. We get back to hardening Pharaoh's heart. We'll see it as we read through, but it says that Pharaoh hardens his own heart for the first, I think it's 5 plagues, 4 or 5. And after that, God hardens Pharaoh's heart. So the language does shift. First, Pharaoh hardens his heart, and then God hardens Pharaoh's heart. But we have the sense that, again, multiplying these signs and marvels and wonders, there needs to be the entire experience. And God is going to let everyone know, boss. Not Tony Danza. God is the boss. That was a deep cut also, from your 80s sitcoms. Judith Light. It was a good show. Melissa Milano. I don't remember who else was in that show. The Child at the time. So anyway, back to our scheduled programming from our 80s TV shows. Okay. Moses not a young man anymore. Leah, you there? Or you're I see you're there, but I'm not sure if you're there. Your video is off.
I'm here.
You're here. You want to read a little bit?
Yeah. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they made their demand on Pharaoh. Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh speaks to you and says, produce your marvel, you shall say to Aaron, take your rod and cast it down before Pharaoh. It shall turn into a serpent. So Moses and Aaron came before Pharaoh and did just as Adonai had commanded. Aaron cast down his rod in the presence of Pharaoh and his courtiers, and it turned into a serpent. Then Pharaoh, for his part, summoned the sages and the sorcerers. The Egyptian magical priests, in turn, did the same with their spells. Each cast down his rod, and they turned into serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed their rods.
Yeah, that'll learn you. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, so it's sort of giving you the script here. Moses gets information from God, and sort of tells Aaron what to do here, and so the rod gets thrown down, and it's a snake, and the snake, there's more snakes, and the snake eats the snakes. It's disgusting, but that's what we have here. I don't know if there are any cannibalistic snakes. I don't know if snakes eat their own kind, but I'm not a biologist, so I can't, or a zoologist, or really.
I guess if they're really hungry.
I guess if they're really hungry. This is not the first time nor the last time. Do we have, if one reads Freud on this, there is some other imagery that can be invoked here as well, about whose rod is bigger, and all that other stuff. I'm not making it up. I'm telling you it's there. So there is a little bit of sexual imagery that sort of happens during Exodus, at least according to Freud, but it's also Freud.
That's everything according to
Yeah. Well, we'll get there in a minute. There's always a little bit more, but there is the supremacy, sort of Aaron, and so then Pharaoh gets a little bit more freaked out, because of what just happened, because yikes. But again, Pharaoh's a tough guy. He's not going down without a fight here, and so all this snake mishigas doesn't do it for him in terms of getting letting the Israelites go. He's going to need a little bit more than that. Leah, you want to give one more? Yet Pharaoh's heart stiffened.
Yet Pharaoh's heart stiffened, and he did not heed them, as Adonai had said. And Adonai said to Moses, Pharaoh is stubborn. He refuses to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh in the morning as he is coming out to the water, and station yourself before him at the edge of the Nile, taking with you the rod that turned into a snake, and say to him, Adonai, the God of Hebrews, sent me to say to you, let my people go, that they may worship me in the wilderness. But you paid no heed until now. Thus says Adonai, by this you shall know that I am Adonai. See, I shall strike the water in the Nile with the rod that is in my hand, and it will be turned into blood, and the fish in the Nile will die. The Nile will stink, so the Egyptians will find it impossible to drink the water of the Nile.
Yeah, so we're not messing around now. Now we're getting time for plagues, because the Nile is going to turn into blood and be unable, it's not potable water anymore. It's going to be blood, and everything in it is going to die, all of the fish. And if you have a lot of dead fish around, it's not the most aromatic. No one has potpourri with like dead fish aroma to it, right? So the whole place is going to smell. Now it's pretty darn big, remember, right? And so all of the fish are going to die, and it's going to be gross for X number of days. Okay. Rick, you want to give us a little there? And God said,
And the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, take your rod and hold out your arm over the waters of Egypt, its rivers, its canals, its ponds, all its bodies of water, that they may turn to blood. There shall be blood throughout the land of Egypt, even in vessels of wood and stone. Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord commanded. He lifted up the rod and struck the water in the Nile in the sight of Pharaoh and his couriers, and all the water in the Nile was turned into blood, and the fish in the Nile died. The Nile stank so that the Egyptians could not drink water from the Nile, and there was blood throughout the land of Egypt. But when the Egyptian magicians did the same with their spells, Pharaoh's heart stiffened, and he did not heed them, as the Lord had spoken. Pharaoh turned and went into his palace, paying no regard even to this. And all the Egyptians had to dig round about the Nile for drinking water, because they could not drink the water of the Nile. When 7 days had passed after the Lord struck the Nile, the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and say to him, thus says the Lord, let my people go that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, then I will plague your whole country with frogs. The Nile shall swarm with frogs, and they shall come up and enter your palace, your bedchamber and your bed, the house of your couriers and your people, and your ovens and even kneading bowls. The frogs shall come up on you and on your people and all your couriers.
okay, let's take a pause right there. Thank you for that. So we got a couple plagues here. We're sort of heading back up here. So we have the Nile turning into blood, going back to the idea of God exercising judgment over the deities of Egypt. The Nile was, viewed as a god. The Nile is a goddess in particular. And again, we'll skip past some of the Freudian imagery here, but the idea being that, the Nile is turned to blood, and the Nile is sort of wounded, in this endeavor, and everything winds up dying sort of in it. The Nile becomes, useless, so to speak, for the Egyptians at that point, because now they can't fish. All the fish are dead. You can't drink. All the water is blood. And even if you had water in a cup that wasn't in the Nile, it supposedly turns to blood too. So it's just a bloody mess, as they say. That doesn't work out so well. But here's a little known fact, that the Egyptians supposedly can do the same thing. They didn't have that in the movie. The Egyptians are able to sort of do the same sort of trick, and so that's why Pharaoh doesn't buy it. He's like, you know what, whatever, maybe some food coloring, whatever you have, it's not working. And so even though it's 7 days, without any water here, Pharaoh isn't let up. And then God says, you know what? It's frog time. We're going to move on to the next plague, since that one obviously didn't get the job done. Tyler, you want to pick up here? And God said to Moses,
And the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, hold out your arm with the rod over the rivers, the canals, and the ponds, and bring upon the frogs on the land of Egypt. Aaron held out his arm over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. But the magicians did the same with their spells and brought frogs upon the land of Egypt.
yeah, you see, again, the magicians can get some of the stuff done too. I got to tell you, by the way, I would have folded after the Nile turned to blood. That would have been it. I'm not that hardy. It's like that would have been enough for me. Dainu, if I was Pharaoh, I'd just throw in the cards and move on to the next thing. But no, Pharaoh's going to give it a go.
Give me a question, okay?
Yeah.
So we have the blood. So does the blood stop when we get the frogs, or do we just compound these things on top of each other? Do we do 1, 2, and
is that the water eventually turns back to water after the 7 days, and is de-bloodified. Inventing some language while we're here, and then the frogs come next. The reason why I mention it is because if the water was still bloody, the land would really still be smelling pretty bad, and we need all the frogs to die, and the land's going to smell bad again in just a few verses. So the stench will return to Egypt. So I think they got a little bit of a break. I don't know. A lot of frogs. I'm not a fan.
Bloody water chasing the frogs out of the water.
Yeah, it's a lot of frogs everywhere. It's not a fan. It's just I don't know. There are worse things, I guess, but I don't need a ton of frogs in my house. And not for
good.
Say again.
Frog legs are good.
So I've heard, but it's a little beyond me as well.
But it's not unkosher.
It's not unkosher yet.
It's treif.
You are what you eat, I guess.
Oh no, I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's not high on my list of things that I feel like I'm missing out on. That way. But snails too, by the way. That should be the problem. The frog legs are too. And Melissa needs a drumstick. It's not. She can't be eating these tiny little frog legs, and it's not gonna work for her.
Did the frogs symbolize something?
Probably. Grossness is what we're getting over here. All I'm thinking of is Kermit. But that's probably just me. It's not easy being a plague.
There's no frog eye.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because we're sort of wondering here about frog deities. Like what if we're going under the assumption that the plagues are a punishment directed at the deities of Egypt, which god is the frog striking against? I don't know off the top of my head what that would possibly be. I would also say that it's really about God subverting, the works of nature, subverting / superseding, however you want to look at it. But God being able to make whatever God wants to happen, and that it is unusual, to say the least, for frogs to be everywhere. And so that's going to show Pharaoh that God is able to sort of act in whatever way God wishes to act. God will be what God will be.
There is a god.
There is a god of frogs.
The frog-headed goddess named, I don't know, Hecate.
There is a frog-headed goddess.
Oh.
Apparently, yes, there's a frog-headed goddess.
Says
Try
here,
to eat.
amphibians and reptiles are considered unclean. Frog legs are not kosher.
Not kosher, yes. The frog legs are unclean and unkosher.
She personified generation, birth, and fertility.
Generation, birth, and fertility, because I guess frogs have a lot of tadpoles and whatnot. And so they are multiplying like frogs, not like rabbits. If I told frogs, I'd have chills. That'd be multiplying. And I would lose all control.
So there was a reason for frogs, not just, I think I'll use frogs.
Yeah.
this time. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. So Googling and playing with the idea that like there was a frog deity, and God might be making mock of the frog deity by just having frogs everywhere, frogs on his bed and frogs on his head and frogs on his nose, frogs on his toes.
Yes,
Frogs
Dr.
here,
Seuss.
frogs there,
That too.
frogs were jumping
You know,
everywhere.
Rabbi, with
Come on,
being the
hot Shabbat people, you know.
Rabbi, with
Yeah.
being the preschool director for so many years, I'm doing this whole story by song, by preschool song,
By
just like you
preschool
just
song.
said.
Exactly. You have to have frog songs. Everyone
Frogs
can-
here, frogs there.
Frogs were jumping everywhere, even
That's
in his
it.
underwear. Yeah, yeah. It's a good time in preschool, and so yeah, everyone likes the frog song. So the frogs are everywhere, and then Pharaoh's like, "Yeah, this is not cool anymore. I've had quite enough." Melissa, you want to pick up here? Then Pharaoh.
And Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Plead with the Lord to remove the frogs from me and my people, and I will let the people go to sacrifice to the Lord." And Moses said to Pharaoh, "You may have this triumph over me, but what time shall I plead in behalf of you and your courtiers and your people, that the frogs be cut off from you and your houses to remain only in the Nile? For tomorrow," he replied, and Moses said, "As you say, that you may know that there is none like the Lord our God. The frogs shall retreat from you and your courtiers and your people, and they shall remain only in the Nile."
I gotta say, if I was Pharaoh, I'd be going like for right now more than tomorrow. It just feels like if you're gonna get rid of the frogs, like now would be good. Like I just had like the bug guy at my house, and it's just like, get rid of them tomorrow. No, get rid of them now. That would be nice. You know, when can I fix your refrigerator? Now would be great. You know, like I have food there. I don't want spoiling. You know,
Pharaoh dilly-dally. That's fine.
dilly dally. He's a shirker. Another shirker. Shirking his responsibilities. Melissa, give me one more. Then now Moses.
And Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh's presence, and Moses cried out to the Lord in the matter of the frogs, which he had inflicted upon Pharaoh. And the Lord did as Moses asked. The frogs died out in the houses, the courtyards, and the fields, and they piled them up in heaps till the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he became stubborn and would not heed them as the Lord had spoken.
It's so tough, right? Because like it's a really bad situation with the frogs everywhere, and Pharaoh's like, when things are rough, he's like ready to acquiesce. Oh, sure, Moses, whatever you want, you just get rid of this, and it'll be fine. I'll let you go. But as soon as the needle is out of the paw, the thorn is out of the paw, then Pharaoh sort of reverts and becomes stubborn and says, "No, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Just kidding, just fooling you. We're gonna continue to have the Israelites be slaves." And I gotta say again, stinky frogs, not what you want. First we had stinky fish, now you have stinky frogs. The land was not doing so well. I figured I have to pile them up and maybe I guess bury them in heaps, like bulldozers of like frogs going somewhere to the landfill. But not a lot of fun. Not great for Pharaoh and the Egyptians. Okay, but Pharaoh hasn't learned his lesson yet. We need a little bit more discipline here, a little more with the rod. So Karen, you want to pick up here? Then God said.
Then Adonai said to Moses, "Say to Aaron, hold out your rod to strike the dust of the earth, and it shall turn to lice throughout the land of Egypt." And they did so. Aaron held out his arm with the rod and struck the dust of the earth, and vermin came upon him, human and beast. All the dust of the earth turned to lice throughout the land of Egypt. The magician priests did the like with their spells to produce lice, but they could not. The vermin remained upon human and beast, and the magician priest said to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." But Pharaoh's heart stiffened, and he would not heed them as Adonai had spoken.
Yeah, once again, I fold. Too much lice everywhere. Done. Not dealing with this. Creepy crawlies all over you. And so we see a progression though, right? Because the first two, the Egyptian magician priests, can imitate. They can sort of create. Oh, I know how you did that trick. There's a mirror here. Oh, this card is a little bit bent. Oh, whatever it is. He knows. What was that thing, like the show on Fox, like the Magician's Secrets Revealed? Didn't remember that, like a long time ago.
Yeah, somebody else.
Yeah, so to do those things. And so, but they can't figure this one out. They don't know how to do it. And so the lice are everywhere, and the magicians and the priests say, yeah, this ain't great. This is God's finger. The finger of God is coming to get you. The moving finger writes. And so
Rip moves on.
the fickle finger of fate. And Pharaoh's heart, though, stiffens. He doesn't listen, doesn't heed his own. Because again, now you're seeing some breaking in the fissures, the breaking in the cracks here of Pharaoh and his leadership. Because now some of his people are like, yeah, let's maybe not do this anymore. Like, this is no longer working for us. So maybe we can do something else. But Pharaoh is going to be steadfast and resolute for 7 more plagues. A slow learner and a shirker. Okay. Gary, going to pick you here, and God said,
Okay. And Adonai said to Moses, early in the morning, present yourself to Pharaoh as he is coming out to the water, and say to him, thus says Adonai, let my people go that they may worship me. For if you do not let my people go, I will let loose swarms of insects against you and your courtiers, and your people and your houses, the houses of the Egyptians and the very ground they stand on shall be filled with swarms of insects. But on that day I will set apart the region of Goshen where my people dwell, so that no swarms of insects shall be there. And you may know that I, Adonai, am in the midst of the land, and I will make a distinction between my people and your people. Tomorrow this sign shall come to pass.
Okay, now it's time for locusts. We're moving on from frogs to lice to locusts. And God did so. Gary, give me one more.
Okay. And Adonai did so. Heavy swarms of insects invaded Pharaoh's palace and the houses of his courtiers. Throughout the country of Egypt, the land was ruined because of the swarms of insects. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, go and sacrifice to your God within the land. But Moses replied, it would not be right to do this, for what we sacrifice to our God Adonai is untouchable to the Egyptians. If we sacrifice that which is untouchable to the Egyptians before their very eyes, will they not stone us? So we must go a distance of 3 days into the wilderness and sacrifice to Adonai as our God may command us.
Yeah, let's go out for a couple of days and we'll come back. Sure. See a gone fishing sign, like gone sacrificing. Just went out for a Coke and some cigarettes, and he's gone forever, right? So that's what we got here. So the insects are coming, the locusts are coming, also gross. Might just add that in. We had snakes, frogs, and locusts. Though, fun fact, you can actually eat the locusts depending on what variety of locusts. Some locusts are in fact kosher. And so if you wanted to enjoy some locusts, you can certainly do that. Who was the most famous locust eater in the Bible? And here I'm speaking of the greater, the Hebrew scriptures and the new one. And so I spoiler, it's in the new one, not in ours, because we had better sense to eat a lot of locusts. The answer is John the Baptist. Lived on honey and locusts for a while. John the Baptist, or as I call him, John the Mikvah Man, he, was doing his thing, and he was subsisting on locusts and honey. because he was not a big eater. It wasn't really a foodie, and so he just sort of subsisted on what he could subsist on, and eating some nasty locusts. The honey maybe helps it go down a little bit better. I wouldn't know.
It tastes like chicken wings.
Exactly. It's not a chicken wing. I'm really guessing. Everything does not, in fact, taste like chicken. Sometimes locusts taste like locust. That being said, it's like I think Rickety gets that. I've heard it somewhere here that like you can go to these places, like go to the museums and whatever, and sometimes you can have like these like ant bars, and like you really like see those things where you pay $1 and you can get, because there are places that do eat insects. Let's be fair. The people who actually do eat this, and you can get chocolate covered whatever.
Bees.
Eating is eating, and then every once in a while, something pops up on like a news story saying that, hey, in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you have to normalize bug eating because it's actually better for the planet for us to be eating the bugs instead of all this beef. And so, it's a protein, and look, I don't want to hear it from everyone who eats a lobster. I don't want to hear any complaints about eating bugs. All the lobster is a giant sea insect. It's the same body type, it's the same thing. Clean at the bottom of the ocean. They're just big sea roaches. So
somehow it feels different, tastes different.
Because it's normalized.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So this is the first time that Adonai says, this isn't going to hurt my people. It's the first time he says this. Were they subject to the frogs and the blood?
The other plagues?
You're right. I think it's the first time that God says it, but I think it said earlier in the passive voice that they were not affected by, I think, the lice, if memory serves.
No, he said here, the lice. Because he says it for the swarms of insects.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say it for the others, at least.
Yeah. I don't think God says it for the frogs or for the blood.
Do they, they drink this out of the same water?
I think I think there's a difference in the biblical. Yes, the biblical citation, I don't think has it. I think the rabbinic interpretation and the midrash, will say, oh, well, like they had their own water supply, that was not bloody because they are meant to be impacted by the plagues. But you're right that it doesn't outrightly say Israelites weren't affected by the first, at least the first two, maybe the third one too. I may be misremembering, but that this stuff happens to the Egyptians, but it's not supposed to be affecting the Israelites.
Didn't the Israelites move to a different area? Weren't they?
They were on the outskirts. They were in Goshen, which was like, owned by Egypt, so to speak, but wasn't Egypt proper.
So maybe that's why it didn't affect them.
Yeah, maybe they were in the other side sort of it, and they didn't have the same impact. I mean, I would make the assumption everyone was using the Nile, to drink, that was or at least using it as a water source.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is the Nile potable like now? Like you can't drink out of it.
Oh my gosh, no.
Why not?
I don't know.
It's a river that comes from the mountains.
It comes from where? The mountains? Yeah.
In Africa.
They have like cruise ships going down.
Well, you might not be because of that.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it would be good for us. Maybe people who are used to it. But I don't think it would be really good for us.
But he went down to the water every morning. What would he go down to the water for?
Bathe, exactly. He's got to abalute,
So I don't know why it would be drinkable in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think people are probably less picky.
Google says it's potable.
Let's see. Hold on.
Google says it's the drinking water supply.
Yeah.
All up and down in Egypt.
It's safe for human consumption.
Yep.
It serves as a lifeline for millions of people across East Africa and Egypt.
Yep.
And so, but it just depends on where you are, I think, and again, who you're talking to. Yeah. Well, I always said like that was always like less of an appeal for natural spring waters I've seen nature, and like I don't want so much happening in my natural spring water that happens in nature. I need that thing purified a few times because I see deer doing stuff in the water, and you don't want that.
Get it right at the point where it's. And
Rick is fighting for the natural spring. He's fighting for the yeah.
Even if they're just bathing in the water, you don't want to go there.
I wouldn't, but but again, that's me. That's I want my everything triple purified. So but then again, I had a chicken McNugget recently, and I don't know where that comes from either. So I might be better off with the Nile water than a hot dog. Yeah, the hot dog might have some locust in it, as far as I know. So with that lovely thought, we'll conclude there. And we'll pick up next week with the rest of these plagues right in time for Passover.
We're the paralegals.